Young Maisie arrives in the Wild West as an unwanted mail-order bride, finding herself in a home where silent grief is suffocating a little girl. Her new husband, Clayton, without knowing it, used his words to lock his daughter in silence, plunging the family into cold and despair. But one quiet child's whisper revealed a terrible truth and opened the way to salvation, changing everything forever. Find out what a shocking twist this drama took, and why justice, seemingly lost in the wild prairies, still triumphed, and the heroine found not only a family, but also the true meaning of life. This story will deeply touch your heart and teach a wise lesson, so be sure to watch until the end, subscribe and like, and we'll begin. May 1883, the wind in the town of Silver Hall, Montana, smelled of dust and gunpowder. The streets were as gray as the faces on them, and in this grayness stood he, Clayton O'Connell, tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes like a mountain glacier, and a face hardened by sun and sorrow. He was waiting for a woman he only knew from a letter, Maisie, a mail-order bride from Chicago, his last hope, not for love, but for salvation. 2 years ago, Clayton lost his wife and everything he loved. Now he was alone, and his little daughter, 7-year-old Lily, had fallen silent after the tragedy. Lily sat on a bench, clutching an old teddy bear, and looked at the world with a vacant stare. No doctor could help her, no person could reach her. The only thing that gave Clayton strength was a promise he had made to his wife: he would protect their daughter. When Maisie stepped out of the stagecoach, Clayton barely contained his disappointment. She was not like the picture, not a young beauty with lush curls, but a thin, pale woman in her 30s, with tired eyes and thin lips. She wore a worn travel dress, and in her hand she held an old valise. She seemed like as much of an unwanted burden as his own memories. Seeing Clayton, Maisie froze. She, too, seemed to have expected someone else. "Miss Maisie?" His voice was dry, like sand. "Yes, Mr. O'Connell." Her voice was quiet, almost uncertain. I have arrived." An awkward silence hung between them, broken only by the creak of the stagecoach. Clayton pointed to Lily. "This is Lily, my daughter." Maisie walked over to the girl, crouched down to be at her level. A flash of compassion appeared in her eyes, but Lily, as if she didn't notice her, continued to stare into the void. This was the first moment of pain for Maisie. She saw the sorrow in the eyes of the man she was supposed to marry, and the closed-off nature of the girl who was supposed to become her daughter. Clayton led her into the house. Inside, it was as bleak as it was outside. The only bright spot was Lily's small room, where everything was neatly arranged, as if in anticipation that its little mistress would return to life. Maisie understood that this woman was just a temporary solution.
I ask you to like and subscribe to the channel, so you will help me in motivation to make such great stories for you, and I will see that you like them. Enjoy watching, everyone.
A hired nanny he had paid to look after the house and the child while he was away at work. She wasn't here to become a wife. She was here to serve. In this feeling of despair and hopelessness of her new life, she had to find strength. The days blurred into one long gray stream. Maisie tried to find her place in this house, which felt more like a prison. Clayton avoided her, and Lily continued to keep her silence. Maisie took care of the house, cooked food that Clayton ate in silence, and tried to talk to Lily, but received only silence in return. Her despair grew, turning into a heavy stone on her soul. One day, when Clayton was away on business, Maisie sat with Lily on the porch. She felt so lonely that she began to talk. Not expecting an answer, she talked about her life in Chicago, the noisy streets, and how she loved to read books sitting by the window. She spoke of her family, of the parents she had lost too early, and how loneliness had made her decide to travel to the Wild West. "And you know, Lily," Maisie whispered, looking at the girl, "sometimes life seems so long and empty that you just want to disappear. But then you realize that there is someone who needs you, even if they don't say it." At that moment, Lily, clutching her teddy bear, whispered quietly, He missed it too." Maisie flinched. It was the first word she had heard from Lily. She leaned down to the girl, almost afraid to breathe. "Who, Lily? Who missed it?" "The bear, Papa." Lily pointed to the teddy bear, then to the house. "He said he wasn't needed anymore." Maisie was in a state of shock. She couldn't believe her ears. She thought Lily was talking about Clayton, but the girl was talking about the teddy bear. Suddenly, everything fell into place. When Clayton's wife died, he, plunged into grief, had told Lily that he, her favorite bear, was no longer needed because he reminded him too much of the past. Words spoken in a fit of pain became a verdict for Lily. She thought that if she also fell silent and didn't remind him of her mother, Clayton wouldn't be sad. This very realization was the turning point. Maisie understood that Lily was not trapped in her own grief, she was trapped in someone else's. For the first time in many years, she felt not despair, but hope. Hope that she could help this girl, and in that was her new purpose. From that day on, everything changed. Maisie began talking to Lily, explaining to her that her words had been misunderstood, that Clayton never wanted her to be silent. She read her books, played games, and told her fairy tales. Gradually, very slowly, Lily began to come back to life. At first, she answered in monosyllables. Then she began to ask questions, and then she started to smile. She still did not talk to Clayton. He noticed the changes in his daughter, but he couldn't understand how it happened. Maisie didn't tell him what they had discovered, because she knew he had to hear it from Lily herself. He still saw her as only an unwanted bride. Finally, one evening, when Clayton was sitting on the porch, Lily walked up to him and took his hand. He froze. "Papa," she said quietly, "I'm not useless. The bear isn't useless either." Clayton flinched, his eyes filled with tears. He slowly turned to Maisie, who was standing in the doorway. He couldn't understand. He didn't know what to say. I thought that if I was quiet, you wouldn't be sad," Lily explained, her voice weak but clear. Clayton knelt down and hugged his daughter tighter than ever before. He knew that he himself was the cause of her grief. His words, his distance, his pain, all of it had broken them. And Maisie, this unwanted woman, had brought his daughter back to him. His heart, which had been icy, began to thaw. In that moment, he felt that she was not just a mail-order bride, but the person who had given him back his Lily. Hope settled in his soul again. "Forgive me, daughter," he whispered, his voice full of compassion. "I was wrong. I was a fool." For the first time, they talked as a family, and Clayton finally understood that their small family was not just him and Lily. It was him, his daughter, and this incredible woman whom he had almost chased away. Days passed, and Silver Hall witnessed a miracle. Clayton and Maisie slowly, but surely, built a relationship based not on a contract, but on mutual respect and gratitude. Lily laughed, played, and was finally happy again. Their home, once filled with sorrow, now rang with children's laughter and warmth. Maisie, who had arrived as an unwanted burden, became the heart of this family. Clayton realized that her arrival was not just a rescue, but a blessing. He understood that happiness is not about finding the perfect person, but about finding the one who makes you better. This was the reconciliation with the past and the acceptance of a new life. In the finale of the story, Clayton and Maisie stand together on the porch of their home, watching Lily play with the neighbor's children. He gently takes her hand. "Maisie," he says, "you know, I don't deserve you." "We both didn't, Clayton," she replies, smiling, "but we found each other, and that's what matters." Conclusion. The story of Clayton and Maisie shows that the greatest losses often conceal the most unexpected gains. Clayton's pain and Lily's despair seemed insurmountable, but it was through this loss that they were able to find new meaning in life and create a family that would have been impossible without what happened. Lesson for the modern world. In our era, when people strive for instant, perfect happiness, it is easy to forget that true value lies in embracing imperfection, in the ability to see beauty in the ruins and find hope where there seems to be none. Like Clayton, many of us lose loved ones, but instead of learning from our mistakes, we shut ourselves off, refusing new opportunities. But it is precisely the ability to accept loss and find new meaning in it that is the key to true revival. It doesn't matter how old you are, 20 or 65. Life always gives a second chance if you are willing to see it.